All right, here's your syllabus. Thank you both for taking the class. Glad to have you. And then Jeremiah and Roger will join us. So Jeremiah we'll see tomorrow, and Roger, I'm thinking probably we'll see him Thursday. So glad to have you all back in class again. And I am excited about this class, Principles of Discipleship, as it will be a new area of focused study for me and perhaps for you also. I think this is the first time the class has been offered here, so we'll enjoy it and we'll work through it. It's a 2-hour class, so be a little lighter than what you did last semester in order to reflect the difference in credit there. What we'll do is give attention to the biblical principles of mentorship for Christian training and growth, especially in personal and small group situations. What we mean there is really we want to look at discipleship in the sense of what does it mean to make disciples? What role does spiritual maturity play in the making of disciples? What does spiritual maturity look like? And what role do pastors and fellow Christians in the church play? So we'll spend a lot of time looking at discipleship, a biblical theology of it, and then we will move into some of the more practical aspects of structure, etc. And some of your reading will touch on that also, and we'll give attention to it here in class. But like we said, under the objectives, one of the first things we want to start with is just a biblical theology of discipleship. And what does the Bible mean when it talks about disciples and discipling and following Christ? What does it look like? What all is involved? How is it produced? What role does the church play with reference to making disciples? Of course, you're thinking Great Commission, go and make disciples. And finally, spiritual maturity. What is it? And how is it produced? All those are connected. That's where we're going to focus. We could look at a ton of things with reference to discipleship. We'll focus our efforts there. And the lectures will really be a series of just working through key texts in the New Testament. At times, we'll stop and maybe do a word study or a topic, but for the most part, I just want to work through some major New Testament passages on discipleship, spiritual maturity, and the church's ministry with reference to those things. So to that end, like we did in New Testament theology, I'll give you a basic outline. I'll put it in the Google Drive folder, and while I lecture, you'll take the material and kind of fill it in and develop there an understanding of the text and each particular topic. And then when it comes to the end of the semester and you write your final exam for me, which we'll do in essay format, you'll be articulating to me these principles of discipleship based on these key texts. If you check your email, you'll see I've already sent you an invitation to the Google Drive folder, and it does have the syllabus in there. And then as we go throughout the semester, I'll load your lecture outlines into there, and you can just save a copy and go from there. You won't have the ability to edit the docs in the folder, but if you just copy it like you did last time, you'll be fine. So, any technical issues, just come see me. Of course, while I'm lecturing, stay off the internet except to grab those so that we can give good attention and not be distracted. Times it will become obvious when people are tuning out on me, so just hang with me, interact, ask questions, and that will facilitate good lecture. I enjoyed all the feedback you guys would give last semester, so keep that up. Let's talk about your assignments. The textbooks, I'm giving you 4, and you'll notice it is a total of 885 pages. Now, don't be intimidated by that. Here's what I mean. The biggest, thickest, so to speak, book is the first one, Michael Horton. That has the smallest print, and the lines are the closest together, and I think it's 250, or it's 321. That's the hardest book. The rest of the ones are much quicker. Like Stott's book there, it's a small book. It's almost double-spaced. It's big print. Dodson's is similar, and I haven't seen Platt yet, but I think it's similar. And 885 pages is everything, from front matter to content to the indexes. So your actual reading will not actually be 885, and some of those books will go very quickly. So the page numbers are large, but it's not that heavy. So get those 4 books, and read through them. I think you'll enjoy them. Michael Horton's was very good. I very much enjoyed reading that book in preparation for this class. I think you will too. It's about, the church's mission to make disciples. It's very good. It's about ecclesiology. It's about evangelism. It's about spiritual growth. You'll really enjoy that. Jonathan Dodson's is similar. It's about the role the gospel plays in making disciples, gospel-centered discipleship. He has a lot to say about small groups, which I found helpful on some of those practical how-tos. And then the last two are visions of what it means to be a Christian disciple. You'll learn as you read these books that sometimes people's angle on what it means to follow Christ is different. So Stott and Platt are going to approach that topic from kind of different angles and give you a different vision of what exactly it means to be a disciple, what characterizes disciples. So I want you to read the two of those and then look down for your project. Your project will be to compare those two books. You'll read Stott and you'll read Platt and you will compare them. How do they agree? How do they differ? Which description do you think is more faithful to the biblical emphases? And I want you to write up your analysis in an 8 to 10 page paper. How do they agree? How do they differ? Which description is more faithful to the biblical emphases? And be able to defend your choice with Scripture. Write that paper in Turabian format, and the grade will be based on how well you analyze the books. How well do you accurately present their main ideas, and then how well do you analyze, put some original thinking into it, and some evaluation. Those two books will be your main sources, so you won't have to do tons and tons and tons of research. I would mainly like you to read those two books well and analyze them. But since you are going to be evaluating them, I do want you to use at least 10 sources in the paper so that you can check other commentaries or other books on discipleship and weigh out your own ideas. So 10 sources, 2 of those will be the 2 books, so 8 more. Get them wherever you want. Just get some decent stuff and write a good analysis of those 2 books. And then due dates, here's how we'll do it. Paper, when you come to class on week 10, so the last week of class, by the time you sit down in here Monday morning at 10:50, make sure I have your paper, either electronically or in hand. Okay? That Monday of week 10, by the time you sit down in this class. Monday morning, week 10 by 10:50. By the time I say, okay, let's start lectures, I have to have it by then, sitting on the desk here or in my email. And I will try to read it that last week and give you some feedback so that you can have that immediately and not have to wait for it. That will be my goal. And then reading, that will be due by the time you take your final exam. So on the final exam, the first question will be, did you complete your reading? Or how much reading did you do? And you'll say all of this book, all of this book, all of this book, all of this book. If you didn't read all of a particular book, then you'll tell me I got to page 200 of this book. But you will have up until the time you actually take the exam to complete that. So those are 10 weeks away, but start now, especially since you have to read 2 of the books for your paper. Go ahead and start now. Don't put it off. Since you have ample notice, 2.5 months, I'm not going to grant any extension, so don't ask. But you've got 10 weeks to read these 4 books and write 9 to write your project. So go ahead and just get right to it and get it done. And then you'll be graded, as you see there, between the reading, between the project, between the exam. Each one will be worth 100 points. Okay, so any questions on any of that? If you want to order the books yourself, go for it. Otherwise, if you want Jennifer to order for you, just go tell her. She's got the list, and she'll be able to take care of you. All right? All right, so any questions on any of that? All right, good. We'll start tomorrow, 10:50. We'll start with a lecture on the Great Commission, so I look forward to seeing you then.